The Gallery of Broken Dreams. The artist who lived in shadows. Elena Rivers had paint under her fingernails and dreams in her heart. She worked at the Celestial Arts Gallery in New York City, not as an artist but as an assistant. Every morning, she arrived before dawn to prepare the exhibition halls. Every evening, she stayed late to clean brushes that weren't hers and frame paintings she would never claim. But at night, in her tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn, Elena became someone else. She became the artist she was born to be. Her paintings were different from anything the art world had seen. She mixed traditional techniques with modern emotion, creating pieces that seemed to breathe with life. Her colors told stories. Her brushstrokes whispered secrets. Each canvas was a piece of her soul, carefully crafted and deeply personal. She had been working on her masterpiece collection for 3 years. 12 paintings that told the story of human emotion. Joy, sorrow, love, betrayal, hope, and redemption. They were her children, her legacy, her ticket to finally being recognized as a real artist. The man who stole her heart. Adrian Blackwell was everything Elena thought she wanted. He was handsome, with dark hair that fell perfectly across his forehead and eyes that seemed to see into her soul. He was a respected art critic whose words could make or break careers. When he walked into a gallery, people noticed. When he spoke about art, people listened. He had noticed Elena 6 months ago at a gallery opening. She was serving champagne to wealthy collectors, but her eyes were on the paintings. He saw how she studied each piece, how her fingers moved slightly as if painting the air. He introduced himself, and Elena felt her world tilt on its axis. Their romance was like a fairy tale. Adrian took her to exclusive art shows and fancy restaurants. He listened to her talk about art for hours. He encouraged her to paint more, to dream bigger. He told her she was talented, special, worthy of recognition. "Show me your work," he said one night, 3 months into their relationship. "Let me see what you create when no one is watching."
Elena hesitated.
Her paintings were private, personal. But this was Adrian, the man she loved, the man who believed in her. She brought him to her apartment and showed him everything. The night everything changed. Adrian stood in her small studio, surrounded by her 12 paintings. The room was silent except for the sound of traffic outside and Elena's nervous breathing. She watched his face, looking for any sign of emotion, any hint of what he was thinking. He walked slowly from canvas to canvas, his expression unreadable. Elena's heart pounded. These paintings were her vulnerability made visible, her dreams given form. Showing them to Adrian felt like handing him her heart on a silver platter. Finally, he turned to her. His smile was warm, reaching his eyes. "Elena, these are extraordinary. You're not just talented, you're brilliant. These paintings could change everything for you." Relief flooded through her. She laughed, tears filling her eyes. "Really? You truly think so?" "I know so," Adrian said, pulling her close. "Trust me, darling. I know art, and this is special. This is the kind of work that makes careers." That night, they celebrated. Adrian talked about the future, about galleries that would display her work, about critics who would praise her vision. He talked about helping her, using his connections to get her noticed. Elena fell asleep in his arms, happier than she had ever been. She didn't know it was the last peaceful night of her life, the morning of betrayal. 3 weeks later, Elena received a text from her colleague at the gallery. "Have you seen the exhibition announcement? You need to come to the gallery now." Elena's stomach twisted. Something in the message felt wrong. She rushed to get dressed, her hands shaking as she buttoned her shirt. Adrian had been distant lately, claiming he was busy with an important project. She hadn't thought much of it. Critics often worked on tight deadlines. The subway ride to the gallery felt endless. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. Maybe they were offering her a job promotion. Maybe someone wanted to buy one of the gallery's pieces and needed her expertise. Maybe it was nothing. But when she arrived at the Celestial Arts Gallery, she knew immediately that it was something. A crowd had gathered outside, and a large banner hung across the entrance. "Adrian Blackwell, The Emotion Collection. A new vision in contemporary art. Elena's blood turned to ice. The Gallery of Stolen Dreams. Her legs moved automatically, carrying her through the crowd and into the gallery. The exhibition hall was packed with New York's art elite. Collectors, critics, gallery owners, and socialites. Champagne flowed freely. Classical music played softly in the background. And on the walls, lit by perfect gallery lighting, hung Elena's 12 paintings. Her paintings, her soul, her dreams. But next to each one was a small plaque that read, Adrian Blackwell, Oil on Canvas. Elena couldn't breathe. The room spun around her. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Impressive, isn't it? A woman next to her said, sipping champagne. Blackwell has been so secretive about his art practice. Who knew he was this talented? The use of color is revolutionary, a man added. And the emotion. You can feel it radiating from each piece. Elena wanted to scream. She wanted to grab everyone and shake them and tell them the truth. But her voice was trapped in her throat, frozen by shock and disbelief. She pushed through the crowd, searching for Adrian. She found him in the center of the gallery, surrounded by admirers. He was dressed in an expensive suit, holding a glass of champagne, smiling as people congratulated him. He looked confident, successful, and completely at ease. Their eyes met across the room. Elena expected to see guilt, shame, or at least surprise. Instead, Adrian's smile widened. He raised his champagne glass to her in a mock toast, his expression telling her everything she needed to know. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate, calculated theft. The confrontation. Elena's shock transformed into fury. She marched through the crowd, ignoring the angry looks from people she bumped into. She reached Adrian and grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his expensive jacket. We need to talk. Now, she hissed. Adrian's smile never faltered. Elena, darling, this isn't really the time. Now. Her voice was loud enough that several people turned to look. Adrian's jaw tightened slightly, the only sign of annoyance. Very well. Follow me. He led her to a small private room at the back of the gallery. The moment the door closed, Elena exploded. Those are my paintings. My work. How could you? How dare you? Adrian set down his champagne glass carefully, adjusting his cufflinks. When he looked at her, his expression was cold, so different from the warm lover she thought she knew. They're paintings, Elena. Art. And art belongs to whoever can properly present it to the world. They're my paintings. I created them. Every single one came from my heart, my mind, my hands. And they would have stayed in your tiny apartment forever, Adrian said calmly. You're a gallery assistant, Elena. No one would have taken you seriously. No one would have given you a chance. But me?
I'm Adrian Blackwell.
When I say something is art, people listen. Elena felt like she'd been slapped. You used me. You made me fall in love with you just to steal my work. Adrian shrugged. I did what was necessary. You should be grateful, actually. Your paintings will be famous now. They'll hang in important collections. Isn't that what you wanted? Under my name. With my recognition. But you don't understand how this world works, Adrian said, his voice taking on a patronizing tone. The art world is about more than just talent. It's about connections, reputation, credibility. You have none of those things. I have all of them. The public humiliation. Elena's hands shook with rage. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. I have photos of my work in progress, sketches, preliminary studies. Do you? Adrian interrupted. Because I borrowed your phone last week. Remember? While you were sleeping. I deleted everything. Your cloud backup too. He smiled. I also visited your apartment while you were at work. I took your sketchbooks, your studies, your preliminary work. Everything that could prove those paintings were yours. Elena's legs nearly gave out. He had planned this. Every step, every detail. While she was falling in love, he was systematically stealing not just her art, but any way to prove it was hers. You're a monster, she whispered. I'm a success, Adrian corrected. There's a difference. Now, I suggest you leave before security escorts you out. Making a scene won't help your case. Elena wanted to fight. She wanted to scream and destroy and make him pay. But as she looked at Adrian's cold, confident face, she realized the truth. He had already won. He had the paintings, the recognition, the proof of ownership. She had nothing but her word against his reputation. She turned and walked back into the gallery. The crowd was even larger now. People were taking photos of her paintings, Adrian's paintings, she corrected bitterly. Critics were making notes. Collectors were making offers. One of the gallery directors, Mr. Harrison, spotted her. His expression was a mix of pity and embarrassment. Elena, I think it's best if you take the rest of the day off. Mr. Harrison, those paintings. I don't want to hear it, he interrupted, his voice firm but not unkind. Adrian has explained everything. Your attachment to his work is understandable but inappropriate. If you continue to make claims, we'll have no choice but to let you go. Elena looked around the gallery one last time. Her paintings hung like prisoners on the walls, beautiful and betrayed. Adrian was surrounded by admirers, accepting praise for work he hadn't created, and she was being treated like a crazy, jealous woman. She walked out of the gallery with her head high, even as tears streamed down her face. The breaking point. Elena didn't go home. She couldn't face her empty apartment, the space where her paintings had lived. Instead, she walked. She walked through Central Park, past street artists selling their work, past tourists taking photos, past couples holding hands and believing in love. By the time the sun set, she found herself sitting on a bench near the Hudson River. The city lights reflected on the water, creating a painting of their own. Elena stared at the view, feeling hollow and broken. She had lost everything. Her art, her love, her trust, her future. But as she sat there in the darkness, something began to shift inside her. The hurt and betrayal didn't disappear, but they transformed into something harder, colder, more focused. Adrian Blackwell had stolen her paintings and broken her heart. He thought he had won. He thought she was powerless. He was wrong. Elena stood up, wiping her tears away. The old Elena, the naive, trusting artist who believed in fairy tales, was gone. In her place was someone new, someone who understood that the art world wasn't just about beauty and emotion. It was about strategy, reputation, and knowing when to strike. The disappearance. Elena didn't return to her apartment that night. She didn't go to work the next day. In fact, she disappeared from the New York art scene completely. Mr. Harrison received a simple text. I quit. Don't look for me. Her landlord found her apartment empty 3 days later. Rent paid through the end of the month. No forwarding address. Adrian Blackwell, riding high on his success, barely noticed. His exhibition was the talk of the art world. Collectors were fighting over his pieces. Major galleries were offering him shows. He had achieved everything he'd schemed for. He didn't know that Elena Rivers wasn't gone. She was simply preparing. 6 months later, rumors began circulating in the art world about a new artist. Someone mysterious, someone talented, someone who might just change everything. But that's a story for another time. The canvas of deception. 6 months of silence. Elena Rivers had vanished from New York City like smoke in the wind. No one knew where she went. Some people at the gallery whispered that she had moved back home. Others thought she'd given up on art entirely. A few believed she'd had a mental breakdown after her obsession with Adrian's work. Adrian didn't care. He was too busy enjoying his success. But Elena wasn't broken. She was in Paris. In a small studio apartment near Montmartre, Elena had been reborn. She cut her long brown hair into a sharp, stylish bob. She learned French. She studied the masters at the Louvre. And most importantly, she painted. She painted with a fury and focus she'd never known before. Every brushstroke was precise. Every color choice was intentional. She wasn't just creating art anymore. She was crafting weapons. Her new paintings were different from her stolen collection. They were darker, more mysterious, with layers of meaning hidden beneath beautiful surfaces. They told stories that only revealed themselves upon closer inspection. They were sophisticated, mature, and hauntingly beautiful. Elena wasn't painting for love anymore. She was painting for war, the mysterious benefactor. It was during her 3rd month in Paris that Elena received an unexpected visitor. She was in a small cafe near her apartment, sketching in her notebook, when a man approached her table. "Excuse me," he said in perfect English. "Are you the artist they call La Fantôme? The ghost?" Elena looked up, immediately defensive. She had been selling small paintings under a pseudonym at local markets, always leaving before anyone could ask too many questions. How did this stranger know? The man was tall, probably in his late 30s, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples. He wore an expensive suit that somehow didn't look out of place in the casual cafe. His eyes were a striking gray, intelligent and knowing. "I don't know what you're talking about," Elena said carefully. The man smiled and placed a business card on her table. "My name is Marcus Stone. I own several art galleries across Europe and America. I've been following your work for the past few weeks. You're very talented." Elena's heart raced. This could be a trap. Adrian could have sent him. "I'm not interested in gallery representation. I'm not offering it," Marcus said. "May I sit?" Against her better judgment, Elena nodded. Marcus sat down gracefully, ordering an espresso from the passing waiter before turning his full attention back to her. "I know who you are, Miss Rivers," he said quietly. "Or should I say, I know who you were." Elena's blood ran cold. "How?" "I make it my business to know talented artists," Marcus interrupted gently, "and to know thieves. Adrian Blackwell is both a fraud and a thief. Your paintings were extraordinary. I was planning to approach you about exhibiting them before he stole them." Elena's hands trembled. Hearing someone else say it, someone who believed her, made tears spring to her eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, his expression hardening. "Because Adrian Blackwell didn't just steal from you. 3 years ago, he destroyed the career of my younger sister. She was a sculptor, brilliant, innovative. Adrian wrote a devastating review of her work, claiming she had plagiarized from an obscure European artist. It wasn't true, but the damage was done. My sister hasn't created anything since. She lost her confidence, her joy, everything."
"I'm sorry," Elena whispered.
"So am I," Marcus said. "But I've learned that, in the art world, reputation is everything. Adrian has built his entire career on lies and theft. He's untouchable because everyone believes in him." He paused, his gray eyes meeting hers. "Unless someone exposes him, the alliance forms." Elena stared at Marcus, her mind racing. "Why are you telling me all this?" "Because I've been watching you for weeks," Marcus said. "You're not hiding in Paris because you're defeated. You're preparing. I can see it in your new work. You're creating something important, something powerful." He leaned forward. "I want to help you take him down." "Why would you help me? What's in it for you?" Marcus's smile was sad. "Justice for my sister. And perhaps redemption for not stopping him sooner. I have money, connections, and resources. You have talent, motivation, and a personal story that will resonate with people. Together, we can destroy Adrian Blackwell's career and reclaim what's yours." Elena wanted to believe him, but she'd trusted before, and it had destroyed her. "How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know this isn't another trap?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a series of photos, documents, emails, and photographs proving his sister's story. Then he showed her more evidence of at least 4 other artists Adrian had plagiarized or stolen from over the years. Adrian Blackwell wasn't just a thief. He was a serial predator of talented artists. "I've been building this file for 3 years, Marcus said. "But I needed something more. A current case, fresh evidence, a victim willing to fight back. That's you, Elena. You're the key to exposing him." Elena looked at the evidence, her anger reigniting. All those artists, all those stolen dreams. Adrian had destroyed so many careers, and no one had been able to stop him. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. Marcus's smile was sharp and satisfied. "I need you to become someone new. Someone Adrian Blackwell will want to exploit. And when he comes after you again, we'll be ready." The birth of Sarah Nightingale. Over the next 3 months, Elena and Marcus worked together to create a new identity. Elena Rivers was gone, replaced by Sarah Nightingale, a mysterious European artist with no social media presence, no verifiable past, and an exclusive clientele. Marcus provided everything. A fabricated background, a private studio in London, connections to wealthy collectors who agreed to support the deception. Sarah Nightingale's paintings began appearing in small, exclusive galleries across Europe. Each piece sold for shocking prices, always to anonymous buyers. The art world began to whisper, who was this Sarah Nightingale? Why was she so secretive? Why were her paintings so hauntingly beautiful? Elena created her new work with purpose. Each painting was a masterpiece, but hidden within each one were symbols and references that told the story of Adrian's betrayal. A broken lock represented stolen trust. Faceless figures symbolized stolen identity. Beautiful surfaces hiding dark truths underneath, just like Adrian himself. Marcus was right about one thing: mystery created demand. Within 6 months, Sarah Nightingale was the most talked about new artist in the contemporary art world. Everyone wanted to meet her. Everyone wanted to own her work, including Adrian Blackwell. The hunter becomes the hunted. Adrian first heard about Sarah Nightingale at a gallery opening in London. He was still riding high on his success with the Emotion collection, though he'd produced nothing new since. Critics were starting to ask questions. When would Adrian Blackwell create more work? What was his next project? Adrian had a problem. He wasn't actually an artist. He had no idea how to create the type of work that had made him famous. He'd stolen Elena's paintings because they were convenient and brilliant. But Elena was gone, and he needed new material. When he heard about Sarah Nightingale's mysterious paintings, he became obsessed. He studied every photograph he could find. He read every article. The work was sophisticated, layered, emotionally complex. Exactly the kind of art that would cement his reputation as a serious artist. He began planning immediately. If he could get close to Sarah Nightingale, if he could gain her trust, he could steal again. The method had worked perfectly with Elena. Why wouldn't it work again? What Adrian didn't know was that every article he read, every photograph he studied, every rumor he heard, it was all carefully orchestrated by Marcus Stone. The trap was being set, and Adrian was walking straight into it, growing closer. As Elena and Marcus worked together, something unexpected began to happen. They weren't just partners in revenge anymore. They were becoming friends. Marcus treated Elena differently than anyone else ever had. He didn't pity her or condescend to her. He respected her talent, valued her opinions, and listened when she spoke. He made her laugh with dry, witty observations about the pretentious art world. He shared stories about his sister and the family he came from. Elena learned that Marcus wasn't just a wealthy gallery owner. He was a former artist himself, who had given up painting after his sister's career was destroyed. He channeled his love of art into collecting and protecting artists instead. "I couldn't create anymore," he told her one evening as they reviewed plans in his London gallery. "Every time I picked up a brush, I felt guilty, like I was betraying her by continuing when she couldn't." "That's not fair to yourself," Elena said softly. "She wouldn't want you to stop creating." "Perhaps," Marcus said, looking at her with an intensity that made her heart skip. "But I found a new purpose. Helping artists like you. That's my art now." They spent long nights talking about art, justice, and what came after revenge. Marcus showed Elena his private collection. Not the famous pieces in his galleries, but the personal works he kept hidden. Small paintings by unknown artists, sculptures by students, sketches by people who never became famous but created with pure joy. "This is what art should be," he said. "Not about money or fame or status. Just truth expressed in color and form. Elena felt something shift in her chest. For the first time since Adrian's betrayal, she felt understood. Marcus didn't just see her as a victim or a tool for revenge. He saw her as an artist, a person, someone worth knowing. The first kiss. It happened on a rainy night in Marcus's gallery. They were hanging Elena's paintings for a private viewing, the bait to lure Adrian across the Atlantic. Elena was on a ladder, adjusting a frame, when she lost her balance. Marcus caught her, his arms strong and steady. For a moment, they stood there, Elena's feet barely touching the ground, Marcus holding her close. Their faces were inches apart. "I've got you," Marcus said softly. "I know," Elena whispered. And then, without planning it, without overthinking it, they kissed. It was gentle at first, tentative, as if both were afraid to break something fragile. Then it deepened, becoming urgent and real. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Elena's hands were still on Marcus's shoulders. His arms were still around her waist. "That was," Elena started. "A complication," Marcus finished, but he was smiling. "A big complication," Elena agreed. "We're supposed to be focused on taking down Adrian." "We are focused," Marcus said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "This doesn't change our plans, but it does change us." Elena wanted to be cautious. She'd trusted before, and it had destroyed her. But Marcus wasn't Adrian. Everything about him was different. His honesty, his respect, the way he looked at her like she was a person, not a prize to be won. "What if this is a mistake?" she asked. "Then it's a mistake we make together," Marcus said. "But Elena, I don't think it is. I've been falling for you since I first saw your paintings. Not the stolen ones in Adrian's exhibition, the small ones you were selling in Paris. The ones that showed your real soul." Elena felt tears threatening.
I'm scared.
"So am I," Marcus admitted. "But I'm also sure. When this is over, when Adrian is exposed and you have your justice, I want to see where this goes. If you'll give me a chance." Elena kissed him again, her answer clear without words. The bait is set. Their relationship added a new dimension to their revenge plot. Now it wasn't just about justice. It was about building a future together. One where Elena could create freely and Marcus could heal from his sister's pain. They worked with renewed purpose. Marcus used his connections to leak carefully crafted stories about Sarah Nightingale, a mysterious European artist who was planning her first major American exhibition. A reclusive genius who only revealed herself to serious collectors. A woman with extraordinary talent who might just be the most important new artist of the decade. The stories worked. Adrian began making inquiries through his contacts. Who represented Sarah? Could he get an introduction? He was interested in writing a major piece about her work for his influential art blog. Marcus smiled when he heard the news. "He's hooked. Now we just need to reel him in carefully." They decided to host an exclusive, invitation-only preview at Marcus's most prestigious New York gallery. Only the art world's elite would be invited, major collectors, museum directors, important critics. And of course, Adrian Blackwell. Elena created her masterpiece for the exhibition. It was larger than anything she'd done before, measuring 6 feet by 8 feet. She called it the Mask of Lies, and it was breathtaking. At first glance, it appeared to be a beautiful portrait of a man in an elegant suit, holding a champagne glass at a gallery opening. The figure was handsome, confident, successful, everything society valued. But hidden in the painting were symbols and images that told a different story. In the reflections of the champagne glass, Elena had painted tiny scenes of theft and betrayal. The man's shadow on the ground wasn't human. It was a wolf, predatory and vicious. Behind the beautiful gallery walls in the background, she'd painted crying figures trapped in cages. The painting was a puzzle, a story, and an accusation all at once. To a casual viewer, it was simply a sophisticated portrait. But to anyone who looked closer, who studied the details, the truth would become clear. This was Adrian Blackwell's portrait. This was his crime made visible. "It's perfect," Marcus said when Elena finally showed it to him. "He won't be able to resist it." And when he tries to steal it, when he tries to claim it as his own, the evidence will be undeniable. What if he doesn't? Elena asked. What if he suspects something? Marcus took her hand. He will. Adrian's greatest weakness is his arrogance. He believes he's untouchable. He'll see this painting, recognize the talent, and immediately start planning how to make it his own. He won't be able to help himself. The invitations went out 3 weeks before the exhibition. They were elegant, mysterious, printed on heavy cream paper with gold lettering. Marcus Stone Gallery presents Sarah Nightingale, first American exhibition. An exclusive preview for select collectors and critics. October 15th, 7 p.m. By invitation only. Adrian received his invitation and immediately began his research. He studied every piece of information about Sarah Nightingale he could find. He made calls to his contacts in Europe. He tried to find photographs of her, personal information, anything that would help him get close to her. He found almost nothing. Sarah Nightingale was a ghost, just as Elena had planned. But Adrian was determined. He'd built his career on manipulation and theft. One mysterious artist wouldn't stop him. He called Marcus's gallery, speaking with the receptionist in his most charming voice.
I'm Adrian Blackwell.
I received an invitation to the Sarah Nightingale exhibition. I was hoping to arrange a private meeting with the artist before the main event. I'm considering writing a major feature about her work. The receptionist, who had been carefully coached by Marcus, responded perfectly. I'm sorry, Mr. Blackwell, but Miss Nightingale doesn't grant interviews. She prefers to let her work speak for itself. Adrian's jaw tightened. Perhaps I could speak with Marcus Stone directly? We're old colleagues. Mr. Stone is traveling in Europe at the moment, but I'll make sure he receives your message. Adrian hung up, frustrated but more determined than ever. A reclusive artist who wouldn't grant interviews? That just made her more interesting, more valuable. Whatever it took, he would meet Sarah Nightingale. He would gain her trust, and he would take what he needed, the preparation. As the exhibition date approached, Elena felt her anxiety growing. Everything depended on the next few weeks. If the plan worked, she would expose Adrian and reclaim her reputation. If it failed, she would lose everything again, including her chance at love with Marcus. Marcus noticed her stress and took her away for a weekend before the exhibition. They went to a small cottage in upstate New York, far from the city, far from plans and revenge. You need to rest, Marcus said as they sat by the fireplace on their first evening. This has consumed you for months. Take a breath. Elena leaned against him, feeling his warmth and solidity.
I'm scared, Marcus.
What if something goes wrong? What if he wins again? He won't, Marcus said firmly. We've planned every detail. We have evidence, witnesses, and most importantly, we have the truth. Adrian's house of lies is about to collapse. And after? Elena asked softly. After Adrian is exposed and justice is served, what happens to us? Marcus turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. That's up to you, but I can tell you what I want. I want you to open your own gallery, showing your work under your real name. I want to wake up next to you and spend my days helping real artists achieve their dreams. I want to build something real with you, something based on trust and love, not theft and lies. I want that too, Elena whispered. So much. They spent the weekend planning a future, one where Elena Rivers was no longer a victim but a successful artist in her own right. One where Marcus Stone finally forgave himself for not protecting his sister. One where love could grow in the ashes of betrayal. The final preparations. When they returned to New York, it was time for the final phase of the plan. The exhibition was in 1 week. Every detail had to be perfect. Marcus's gallery was transformed into a sophisticated showcase for Sarah Nightingale's work. Elena's paintings hung under perfect lighting, each one a masterpiece of technique and hidden meaning. The Mask of Lies occupied the place of honor, the largest wall in the main gallery, where everyone would see it immediately upon entering. Marcus hired security, caterers, and even actors to pose as exclusive collectors who'd purchased Sarah's previous work. Everything was designed to create an atmosphere of legitimacy and prestige. Elena prepared herself emotionally for what was coming. She would attend the exhibition not as Elena Rivers, but as Sarah Nightingale. She had a new look now, elegant, sophisticated, confident. Her short hair was styled perfectly. She wore designer clothes that Marcus had insisted on buying her. She looked like a successful artist, not the broken gallery assistant Adrian had destroyed. The night before the exhibition, Elena and Marcus stood in the empty gallery, surrounded by her paintings. Tomorrow everything would change. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked, holding her hand. Elena looked at the mask of lies, at the portrait of Adrian that would seal his fate. She thought about all the artists he'd destroyed, all the dreams he'd stolen, all the lies he'd told. "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm ready. Let's take him down."